How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffled Rowlet, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some Pokemon rumors, leaks, news, all that kind of stuff. Starting things off with a very important post, one that I think you guys will enjoy seeing, which is this one right here. So, what is this about? Well, basically, this was shared by Stealth40k. I freaking love Stealth. He is not an insider, but he's an individual that keeps track very much on everything to do with Nintendo leaks and everything along the board in that regard. And he tweeted out something very, very, very important for all of us, which is that according to a new rumor from FamiBoard, Switch 2 has begun mass production in China. So apparently somebody on the FamiBoard, and FamiBoard I think is like a forum that's ran specifically about all to do with Nintendo stuff. We can take a look at the actual board itself here. It is, again, like these boards and, you know, these like online forums is usually where a lot of leakers do tend to go, especially insiders will go to places like this. And I think FamiBoard is like one of those places where like usually it's, you know, you kind of stake your own reputation on these places whenever you do say something. So it does come with a little bit more value, right? Like it does seem a little bit more realistic. But here's what they say the rest though. They say that the system is named Switch 2. So apparently it literally will be called Switch 2, according to this. And there'll be a black and white set of Joy-Cons for it, I guess, instead of the blue and red, which they've had, you know, all the time before. I mean, here's my Switch. Literally, you know, still got this bad boy right here. You know, still got it. Red and blue, right? But apparently, I guess the default now will be, you know, black and white will be the actual, or I guess black and white Joy-Cons on the one side black, one side white. Maybe to make it look a little bit more sleek. Maybe that's why. I mean, keep in mind, we do have a few new consoles that have come out. Like, for example, the ROG Ally Z1 Extreme or the ROG Ally X. Like, if you guys look at these, for example, they all do run sort of that whole like either black or white design, like especially the Ally X, which is the brand, like the newest one. That one's got like a black design, but the original one, the Z1 Extreme, the OG, that one was white. So they do kind of go for like a sleek design for that. And Lenovo Legion Go, for example, also got that black design, and you guys already know what the Steam Deck looks like, so it feels like they're kind of going in that direction for the most part, trying to keep it like sleek and cool. He says, as always, take with a grain of salt until officially revealed. And then we can go here over to the Reddit, you know, actually the Reddit post where somebody shared this, which is right here. We're also going to go to the original post here if we can, just because I want to show you guys the tweet underneath that. And here's what he actually said in the second part here, which is based on what Furukawa said, and Furukawa, of course, being one of the people at Nintendo, I'm guessing. March 31st, 2025 is the latest Switch's successor will be officially unveiled. So that's the latest period possible where it might be unveiled. So anywhere between now and then. I thought Nintendo might wait until January to at least give Switch one last really long, strong holiday period. Now I feel like it might happen before the end of 2024. So yeah, you know, anything is possible. And then Sam here replied saying, it better be, it was a long time since 2017, which yes, March 3rd, 2017, the release of the original Nintendo Switch. It's bloody crazy to think it's been 7 years, basically, since then. But, the actual post here of the original source was this right here. This is according to information obtained by FamiBoard user FWDBWD. Take it and other information with a grain of salt. Also, production has started, meaning a reveal could be this week. This is brand new info from a Chinese forum poster who didn't have an insider track record. Therefore, the following is strictly for fun and giggles. Switch 2 production has started in somewhere in China, which I don't want to translate. 1,000 units per day. This is one worker, not the whole line. Slightly larger than the Switch 1, smaller bezel, black and white Joy-Con, slightly larger logo with a 2 on the side. Source, well, you have to be registered in post. So basically, if we go over here to FamiBoards to check it out, if we can see the original post that actually mentions this. Let's see, here we go. I wonder if this is the actual original post is like at the beginning here, or if it's just like, because this is an entire post going through a million different things. But let's see. I want to see if we can find the original post that goes through all the details, because I think this is a massive post that's been like updated since forever, basically. So I'm very curious if we can find anything here, but honestly, I'm not sure what the original source in here is. If you guys want to dive through it, you know, you can do that. Definitely check out a Stealth40k's or, you know, Stealth's like actual Twitter account, because you will find the links to all this right here. But again, the idea of us possibly getting, you know, the Nintendo Switch 2 and it just being called Nintendo Switch 2 wouldn't be that crazy. Keep in mind, PlayStation has kept that formula going since the, you know, since the PlayStation 1, right? It was PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. And in some way, it's it's easier to keep track of what is what. I think it's better than them calling it like the Switch U or some shit like they did with Nintendo Wii. You know, the Wii U and whatnot. From Wii to Wii U. I mean, again, I understood it. Us as people who are more in the know might have, you know, got it. But regular consumers, which are the people that make up the bulk of sales, right? Like you and me who are invested in this stuff, we're going to buy these consoles no matter what. But your average Joe may not know the difference between a Switch and a Switch U, or if that's what, you know, they would end up calling it. Of course, they're not going to call Switch U. I'm just making, you know, a just general statement here, general point, and using an example of what they could do. So Switch 2 is kind of more clear, right? You know, there's a Switch and then there's a Switch 2. The big 2 would imply that, and maybe changing the logo slightly to imply that, you know, it is a newer console. Maybe literally just having the Nintendo Switch logo like you have it right here, and then just, you know, adding a 2 on the side. Could be enough. Like, again, anything is possible. I'm just saying, anything is possible. But I wanted to mention it because I think it's an interesting point. The Nintendo Switch is imminent. All right, so next up, we're going to be taking a look at this 4chan post that was made right here, just because it just seems fair enough to look at. Either way, you guys know how this works, so let's see what it's talking about. Well, it says, J. Johnny Game Freak Jr. Apparently, that's the person posting this. It is a bit ridiculous, but he says, Pokemon presents on September 24th. I work in the localization for Europe, French particularly, so I'll try to translate names into English where I can. Direct sequel of PLA, so Pokemon Legends Arceus. Apparently, it's going to be a direct sequel. Arceus tries sending you back home to Kalos, but sends you 20 years into the future of Kalos by mistake. A girl named Maple brings you to Quasar's lab, a company dedicated to not only Pokemon research, but making the world better for people and Pokemon, particularly with the urban redevelopment plan of Lumio City. Quasar is run by Trevor. Professor Sycamore is now a gray-haired handsome man who does research at Quasar. Maple is his niece. Alright, you mainly do missions for Quasar which help redevelop certain parts of Lumios. However, you need to convince the 5 ward representatives in each part of Lumios that redevelopment will be good for them by doing missions for them and or fighting boss Pokemon. Sounds like an interesting way of like pulling off the whole, you know, gyms without them actually being gyms thing, right? Like that's kind of like what every Pokemon game does if you really think about it. Like the same thing with like the alpha Pokemon and like the, the everything, like everything they ever do is just a derivative of gym leaders, right? Which is fine. That's what Pokemon is all about, but it's like, you know, it's not that crazy that they would do that. He says there's supposed to be a new Pokemon. Aurora Boreas is a new legendary Dragon-type Pokemon that plays a huge role. You see it briefly. It is a rival of Zygarde, which lives underneath Lumios now. Ooh, okay. Hey, oh, that actually sounds pretty cool. Apparently, just like Zygarde, it also has cores that seem to be causing Pokemon to de-evolve. I feel like I've read another rumor that talks about this whole idea of de-evolution, where Pokemon like de-evolve, which... how would that even work? In what way would that work? Like, would a Charizard just go back to being a Charmeleon? Or would a Charmander turn into something even smaller or evolve reversely where it becomes like a Pokemon from the past or something? Or like, you know, like how would de-evolving actually work? He says the starters are Kalos starters, but they have new evolutions. Some in-game dialogue in the trailer talks about Froakie's new form. Huh? Kirogun? Isn't it supposed to evolve to Greninja? Okay, that's confusing. Towards the end of the trailer, we get a bunch of quick cuts showing the following. 3 new Megas, Darmanitan, Octillery, and Aegislash. Actually, pretty solid combo. All 3 would actually be pretty cool. Darmanitan, I can see very much being a realistic Mega. Octillery, less likely to see that being real, but I definitely think it's one of those Pokemon that could get it, because it is a... I mean, seriously, whoever thinks about Octillery, dude. Octillery is just a forgotten Pokemon. So is Remoraid. But he says that that could be one. And Aegislash makes sense. It actually fits in well, so that would be cool. Then he says 2 new regional forms. Dweeble with a white body and sort of a pastry-style shell. And a latte/coffee motif Sinistea. Another Sinistea form? Ooh... I don't know, Chief. We already had Sinistea, then we have Sinischa, and now we're gonna have Sinist Coffee. I'm sorry. I don't know if I like that. I mean, fine. People are gonna probably love it, but I don't know if I want another Sinistea form. I'm gonna be real. There's so many other Pokemon that deserves forms. Not one that just got released in Generation 7. 8. Got released in Generation 8 and got another form in Generation 9. Like, I think that's enough. Give some other Pokemon love, like Octillery, for example, needs love. Like, pick some other Pokemon that need some love instead and give them a form. Then he says Xerneas and Yveltal's eyes with a rainbow light swirling inside of them. Ooh, okay. Apparently, grown-up Shauna, Diantha, Dexio, Cena, and Bonnie will be seen. Interesting, but how far in the future is this? Because he says, like, This goes 20 but sends you 20 years into the future of Kalos by mistake. So, okay, so it will be 20 years from the point of you going back to Sinnoh or Hisui. So he would send you back to that time where you originally were from, but 20 years ahead instead. So you missed 20 years of your life. Cool. Very nice to know. The Arceus, the literal god of the Pokemon world, just casually fucks something like that up. I mean, hey, it is what it is. Now, apparently, man in a trench coat walking through the city with dialogue implying to be looker. Some call me handsome, you know, apparently that's what he says. Release date just says March 2025. March 2025 would be good. That's also with the rumored, of course, release date of none else than I was going to say Pokemon, but I meant Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo Switch 2 would be released. So, again, interesting. I think it's an interesting rumor. I do wonder, though, if we're going to even get anything this month. I'm going to be real. I'm not expecting anything like, you know, Legends Arceus or Legends ZA, related for, honestly, a long time. I'm not expecting to see anything anytime soon. Like, realistically speaking, I'm not expecting anything. So, I'm gonna be real, man. I'm not sure if we're gonna get anything anytime before Pokemon Day. Like, I hope, and there's still a part of me that believes, but I'm gonna be real. I've kind of lost my faith in a lot of this. It genuinely starts to feel more and more like less likely that anything's gonna happen. But speaking of which, though, we definitely know for a fact that we do have, you know, Nintendo Switch news to probably look forward to, just because, again, they need to announce this because the game is, the console is probably, if they follow suit with what they did with, you know, the Nintendo Switch original, that should be releasing in March, right? Like, March is when this thing is supposed to, like, release. So, if that's the case, if, you know, if the Switch 2 is supposed to release around then it makes sense to announce it now because you need some time for actual promotion to, you know, happen. Otherwise, you're not going to really have a lot to work with. As for Pokemon, though, this is, like, going to be a big title. The last probably big title that you're going to see. Most likely, I would assume. This is going to probably be the last big title alongside maybe Metroid Prime 4. This and probably, like, the new Legend of Zelda game. Those are probably, like, the last big things we're going to see. We're not going to really see any much larger projects and probably no more Pokemon projects for the original Switch. And everything going forward should be for the Switch 2. So what I'm trying to say is that it would make no sense to keep Legends ZA hidden for so long when already next year, by the time this game should be coming out, you're already going to have the Switch 2 coming out, and you want to make sure... I mean, at the end of the day, Pokemon still releases games when new consoles come out. Remember, when they released the Nintendo Switch in 2017, we still got a Pokemon game on the Nintendo 3DS, which was specifically Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And only a whole year later, even a year and a half later in 2018, is when we got Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, which was the first Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch. So Pokemon still has time to make a game for the next console iteration, right? They have time. But you probably want to get some news out on it so you can still get some sales on the Switch, because Pokemon is still a console seller, even though I think by now most people have their Switches, but you never know, one could break. People might want to be like, hey, should I buy a new one just for like this game? You know, it's a lot of that. So I'd love to know what you guys think about that. And now we're going to move on to something a little bit different, which is this post right here from Mordecai's, and it's a bit of a theory from him on what he thinks about specifically Pokemon, you know, theories for Legends ZA and that kind of stuff. So I thought we'd take a look at it and see what he's talking about. He says, I finally have a theory update after all the new Horizon season announcements. The 369 theory for Pokemon Legends ZA I built upon from Amaryatesh's, and he has officially grown, and now with that we're seeing in Pokemon Horizons is making so much more sense. So what is he talking about? Well, first of all, he's got the city up here. He's made a few triangles, a few shapes in there, and we got a few different corners. So you got about 9 corners. He says 369 theory. So you got Rayquaza shiny, you got Zygarde shiny, and you got Terrapagos regular. You got, for some reason, our boy eating his own tail. And then he says below here, Ozone layer guardian. So the ozone layer. The guardian of that would be Rayquaza in this case, because he does fly around the Earth all the time. Then he says the ecosystem guardian, which definitely would be Zygarde. He does actually guard the ecosystem of the Pokemon world, sort of. And then, of course, the Earth Guardian would be, in this case, Terrapagos. He says the number 3 often symbolizes creativity and growth. The number 6 is linked to harmony and balance, and number 9 is seen as a symbol of completion and represents the entirety of human experience. Now, Tesla reportedly observed how many natural phenomena from the orbits of planets to human behavior could be broken down into patterns involving these numbers. This theory has since inspired modern enthusiasts who will connect it to sacred geometry, vortex mathematics, and metaphysical ideas. Cool. So, how does this all relate? Well, it goes back to one of his older posts here, and this is something that Amayatesh talked about, and how there's a connection between all these things. Now, I'm gonna be real. I don't know how this really connects back. I mean, maybe it's because of the fact that the new Horizon season did get announced and like everything to do with Horizons is still up in the air. But I don't really know how this really well gives us any answers as to what we are supposed to expect for Legends ZA. He did have a great theory, though, back here, where he connected all, like, the Team Quasar logo, which we think are going to be called Team Quasar, just because a Quasar is, like, I forget what it is. It's either, like, the explosion after a star supernova, like the shape that's left afterward, or I think it's, like, something along those lines. I could be wrong. I don't remember exactly, but I remember he did a great theory post here about all that, which I definitely think you guys should check out. Definitely go check out Mordecai's Mons on Twitter, because he has some great thoughts about all this, which I think you guys definitely should just see. Just look at them, because they are worthwhile checking out. Which, yeah, that pretty much summarizes that part right there. The only other thing we have is this post right here from None Else in Soul, and this is a big post, which I will take a look at more in a probably future video. But what he said here is, now that we've talked about Zygarde in depth, and that it might be a closer based off of Nidhogg than Jormungandr, so basically it's talking about the different gods that it could be based on Zygarde, especially because it wears a crown like a king or of villain / Ragnarok. What does it mean for a possible A legendary related to Yggdrasil's lore? So again, there is a lot of talk about, will there be a new legendary in Legends ZA supposed to represent either the tree itself, Yggdrasil itself, or represent one of more of the animals that does actually live in the tree, or, you know, at least reside in it. Like, for example, Ratatoskr, which is a little, like, you know, a little squirrel. But what he says here is that, well, it's based off of Jormungandr. Even, dude, I literally have lived in Sweden my entire life, but I don't even know how to pronounce this. Jormungandr. Which would possibly set it and Zygarde up as two serpent counterparts or opposing forces. Or, as I've said many times, there will be two Zygardes, one we know, and then one more eternal Ouroboros one based on this world serpent, kind of like Squishy and Z2. Or it could be based off of Ratatoskr, which is the most obvious significant missing character from this mythos. Or my favorite option is that the A legendary might be a little tree Pokemon. It might be Yggdrasil itself. This idea comes from the shape of the A and the leaf-like markings on the A logo. So he's talking about the Legends ZA logo, which does have that kind of shape on it. If you guys haven't noticed, there's definitely that kind of, like, you know, tree shape to it almost, which definitely is in there. So I do agree, there is some element to that like, you know, I've spoken about previously, that definitely is true. But again, there's no guarantee that that is the case, though. Moving on, though, he says that apparently this idea comes from the shape of the A, you know, and the markings on the A, as well as the color and sound design of the Legends ZA logo when it was revealed. It's all very green, leaf, and tree vibes. Yggdrasil is the tree that holds the realms together, which, yes, that is the case. Yggdrasil is the tree that holds literally everything together in you know, in Norse mythos. As far as I'm concerned, this would be great fit for the role of the legendary Pokemon A itself, as well as the legendary A that connects Xerneas, Life, Yveltal Death, and Zygarde together, as well as holds all of Kalos together, or even the whole universe together. There's also a thematic lore about Zygarde protecting the ecosystem. This A legendary could be sort of a tree of life that's the opposite of Nidhogg. Zygarde protects it, right? So it would be cool if that's the case. If Zygarde all along has just been protecting this big tree Pokemon, that would be pretty cool, because without the tree, the balance of the universe literally goes to shit, because the tree needs to exist to actually keep the balance in check. That, to me, is a cool concept, and I think that would be cool. But again, nothing is guaranteed when it comes to these kind of things. And I'd, again, love to know what you guys think about all these theories and stuff. And that's pretty much what we had for, I think, today. We do have one more rumor to go through real quick, which is this one right here. So it says Pokemon Gen 10 leaks. And this is what it says. And it's pretty just goofy, but it says, I'm going to leak what I know about Gen 10. And again, these can be goofy and don't take them too seriously. This is all for fun at the end of the day. But here's what it says, though. Pokemon Gen 10 leaks. I'm going to leak what I know about Generation 10. Main theme of the game is to fusion, I guess, Pokemon, which is present in both story and gameplay. Well, that's fair enough. Player character has a special technology that will let him fuse with certain Pokemon during the story. Okay. And will be granted physical abilities of them. Example includes growing temporary Charizard wings so you can fly around the world. Fins for new fish Pokemon. Okay, so listen. As much as I want to believe this, because I think it would be pretty interesting, there is actually Pokemon like Fusion Human. This is actually a thing that genuinely did happen in Pokemon. If you guys didn't know this, there is a case of this actually happening. During the Pokemon manga, one of the weird Pokemon mangas called Pokemon Burst, I think. During this manga, one of the characters actually, or Rebirth, right? So Pokemon Rebirth manga basically allowed humans to combine with Pokemon, gaining the power and immunities while increasing the user's physical and defensive strengths. And those who can use bursts are known as burst warriors. So yes, there is a world which in Pokemon actually fuse with humans that has happened in one of the mangas. Not the Adventures manga, which is the main manga, but in one of the side mangas, which there are plenty of. But apparently you can swim in the ocean and more. This is similar to Koraidon and Miraidon upgrades, but it's the player character themselves instead. In battle, you can select a different Pokemon on your team to fuse with another Pokemon. All Pokemon can have fusions with each other, and this grants access to their moves, so it has 8 moves. This does not change the character model except some special fusions. Interesting, because them doing fusions for every Pokemon, I feel like would be impossible, but like you said here, they don't actually change the design of the Pokemon. Then what's the point? But we'll change colors. This lasts 3 turns, and during this time, the other Pokemon is unusable and goes to normal again, okay? The evil man in this game is a supervillain who wants power and tries fusing himself, tries to fusion himself to a strong enough level to rule the world, but goes too far and actually becomes a Pokemon himself that you have to catch. Thank you, that's all I know. That would be wild if the villain becomes a Pokemon and we can just catch them. That would be pretty insane. I'm not gonna lie. That would be a bit wild, but I'd love to know what you guys think about this rumor. It is a little bit out there, but it is a rumor nonetheless, and that's why we talk about them. So, ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much summarizes it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy it, then drop a like down below. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. So, peace out and bye-bye, ladies and gents.